Good evening everyone. Welcome to BAJIRAO IAS Academy, the Hindu News Analysis. So today we have a few very important news articles from the Hindu newspaper. So we will discuss all those important articles. So before discussing them, let's try to solve the yesterday's given practice question. So please remember, yesterday I've given you a practice question. So that is with respect to the Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary. The question is, in which of the following states Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary is located? Options: A. Assam, B. Sikkim, C. Arunachal Pradesh, and D. Manipur. So the correct answer for this question is C. Arunachal Pradesh. Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary is located in Arunachal Pradesh, and this particular national park or wildlife sanctuary is in news because of some reasons. So in Arunachal Pradesh, there was a tribe called Bugun tribe. Okay, the name of the tribe is Bugun tribe. Bugun tribe. So this particular tribe has demonstrated exemplary conservation efforts. Okay, so how it has demonstrated the conservation efforts? By donating around 1,470 hectares of the forest land, okay, to the State Forest Department for the protection of a critically endangered songbird, Bugun leosi chala. Okay, so this is that particular Bugun bird. So in order to protect the Bugun bird, the Bugun tribe in Arunachal Pradesh have donated 1,470 hectares of forest land to the State Forest Department. So because of that reason, it is in news. So this particular Bugun bird species was discovered in 2006, and it has been facing threats from the deforestation and hunting as well. We all know that habitat fragmentation and deforestation have been a major causes of species extinction, and it has been also like a leading factor for the human-animal conflict. Human-animal conflict. Right? So because of that reason, Bugun tribe has donated 1,470 acres of land for the conservation efforts of this Bugun bird species. So this particular Bugun leosi chala is a small and critically endangered blabber. So that has a olive gray plumage and a black cap. Here you can see a black cap, and at the same time yellow orange eyebrows. Right, this is how the bird actually looks like, the Bugun bird. So this particular Bugun bird is only found in the Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, so the question is about the Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary, and this Bugun bird is only found in the Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary in Arunachal Pradesh, India. And it has been described as similar to small laughing thrush. So this is also a bird species. Now this particular Bugun bird was first spotted in 1995 and described as a new species in the year 2006. So this is the significance of Bugun bird and Bugun tribe and Eagle Nest National Park in Arunachal Pradesh. Now let's go to the today's practice question. Today's practice question is Project Gaia was in news recently is associated with which of the following things? Firstly, it is associated with banking reforms, or climate risk analysis, artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, or climate smart agriculture. So please try to answer this question in the comment section, and I will be providing you the correct answer in tomorrow's session. So let's try to understand the first very important news article. So this is with respect to India's relations with Bhutan. Recently, India has decided to double its assistance to Bhutan to 10,000 crore. So earlier, India used to provide around 5,000 crore rupees of assistance to Bhutan. Now the Indian government has decided to increase its assistance to Bhutan. So we also know that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Bhutan. Okay, so he was in his official visit to Bhutan. So in that particular official visit, Indian government has taken this particular decision. Apart from that, we have also talked about the neighborhood first policy in the context of India-Bhutan relations. Now first try to understand the context. The context is that India has decided to double Bhutan's assistance. Okay, so India has decided to double Bhutan's assistance in next 5 years. So earlier India used to provide 5,000 rupees of financial assistance to Bhutan in the financial years 2019 to 2014. However, this particular financial assistance would be further increased to 10,000 crore for the period till 2029. Okay, so this was announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Bhutan. And apart from that, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's announcement, particularly after he was awarded Bhutan's highest honor. For example, in India, highest civilian award is Bharat Ratna. So in a similar way, Bhutan also has the highest civilian award or highest honor. So that is Order of Druk Gyalpo. Okay, so this is Bhutan's highest civilian honor, Order of the Druk Gyalpo, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is awarded this particular award. So this was announced in the 2021. So particularly to acknowledge India's role in ensuring Bhutan's success in managing the COVID-19 pandemic. So please also remember, under a program called Vaccine Maitri, India supplied vaccines to all its neighboring countries. Okay, so it has supplied vaccines to all its neighboring countries. So therefore, protecting them from the COVID-19 pandemic, and it is in its spirit of neighborhood first policy, because we have already discussed about this neighborhood first policy that India has adopted, and at the same time in the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Okay, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So not just to the neighboring countries, but also several other countries have got benefited from India's vaccines, and that ultimately ensured the vaccine equity in all those poor and underdeveloped countries. Now let's proceed to discuss this in a very detailed way. So India and Bhutan have further signed few agreements in different sectors. The sectors including energy, food safety, sports, and research. So these are the areas where India and Bhutan have signed agreements with respect to further strengthening their cooperation and partnership. And at the same time, they also announced a roadmap for the space collaboration, because if you look at India's ISRO is emerging as a major space hub. So because of that reason, both these countries have decided to further enhance collaboration, space collaboration, right? So because of that reason, they have announced a roadmap, a detailed roadmap also. However, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his visit to Bhutan also specially mentioned about this Gelepu mindfulness city. In our previous lectures also, I have discussed about this particular Gelepu mindfulness city and how this Gelepu mindfulness city is very important for Bhutan's economy, and how it would drive the socio-economic development in not just in Bhutan but also in Northeast India, right? So therefore this Gelepu mindfulness city, so that was called as a visionary project launched by Bhutan's king Jangme Kesar Namgyal Wangchuk in the year 2023, right? So it is a very significant because it indicates that the project would be beneficiary of India's latest assistance to Bhutan, because India has decided to provide or double its assistance to Bhutan. So therefore this Gelepu mindfulness city project, a visionary project, could benefit from India's recent announcement of doubling its financial assistance to Bhutan. Now let's try to understand the background of India-Bhutan relations very briefly. So because it is important and you may get the question in your mains examination. So if you look at India-Bhutan relations, so they actually share a unique bilateral relations. a fruitful and best of its kind bilateral relations between India and Bhutan. Those bilateral relations between these two countries are essentially driven by the mutual trust, goodwill, and understanding. Okay, so these are the defining factors of India Bhutan relations. And apart from that, India and Bhutan respecting each other's sovereignty, territorial integrity, territorial integrity. So all those factors are actually considered as defining elements in India and Bhutan relations. So after that, there's a basic framework between India and Bhutan, and that is a guiding principle in the relations between these two countries. First, the Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation, and that was signed in the year 1949. Okay, so this is Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation, Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation, and this particular Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation was signed in the year 1949. Okay, so this was further renewed in the year 2007, and it serves as basic framework between India and Bhutan relations. So after that, this spiritual kinship, so that is also a very important in India Bhutan relations, because Bhutan considers India as Gyagar. Okay, so that essentially means a sacred land where Buddha originated. So India and Bhutan are connected with common culture, and they're connected with shared history. So because of that reason, India's relations with Bhutan is very important. So Buddhism has kept the ties between these two countries resilient. Okay, so Buddhism as a cultural link between India and Bhutan has made India Bhutan ties more and more resilient over a period of time. Now in this context, we will briefly understand the significance of India Bhutan relations. So what exactly is the significance of India Bhutan relations? First and foremost, there are certain high level exchanges between these two countries. So the high level exchanges include the 720 megawatt Mangdechu hydropower project. So please understand, between India and Bhutan, hydropower cooperation is very important because Bhutan has one of the largest potential of hydropower generation. And when Bhutan is able to generate hydroelectricity, that is a renewable form of energy, because Bhutan is also considered as a carbon neutral country. Okay, it's the first country in the world that has become carbon neutral. And now they are looking to generate hydroelectricity, and that is a renewable form of energy. And they also wanted to reduce the carbon footprint. The energy trade across the borders between India and Pakistan would also benefit people of both these countries. Okay, so therefore this 720 megawatt Megadecho hydropower project is very important. So after that, ISRO has also launched the ground earth station, that is for the utilization of South Asian satellite. Okay, so this is also known as the SARC satellite. SARC satellite was launched as a collaborative initiative between the member countries of SARC, except Pakistan. Pakistan was not part of this SARC satellite initiative. So therefore, a ground earth station was set up by ISRO in Bhutan. So these were the major high level exchanges between India and Bhutan. So after that, we need to understand briefly trade and economic relations between India and Bhutan, because Bhutan is our immediate neighbor. So therefore, we can expect a positive bilateral ties or positive economic cooperation and bilateral trade between India and Bhutan. So therefore, India is Bhutan's top trading partner. First thing you need to understand, for Bhutan, India is the top trading partner. First thing. So India and Bhutan agreement on trade, commerce and transit. So there was India and Bhutan agreement on trade, commerce and transit. So this particular agreement has established a free trade regime between India and Bhutan, right? So free trade agreement is very important because both these countries would look at the goods and services which which provide the competitive advantage for both of these countries, and that particular free trade agreement would certainly benefit each of these countries. So this free trade regime is facilitated by India Bhutan Agreement on Trade, Commerce and Transit. Okay, so apart from that, it also provides a duty-free transit of Bhutanese exports to third countries. For example, India, and somewhere here you can see Bhutan, right? So if Bhutan wanted to export any goods from it's any goods from using India as a transit, so Bhutan is not required to pay any customs. Okay, so Bhutan is not required to pay any duties. Okay, so therefore duty-free transit of Bhutanese exports to other third countries is also facilitated by this particular agreement. Now apart from that, there are also significant areas of cooperation. The hydropower cooperation between India and Bhutan. As I've already told you that Bhutan has a huge hydropower potential. This particular hydropower potential and joint hydropower projects are mutually benefiting both Bhutan and India. Okay, so therefore the hydropower cooperation is covered under 2006 bilateral agreement for cooperation, and the protocol for this regard was also signed between these two countries in the year 2009 also. So after that, we need to understand both India and Bhutan are part of different multilateral groupings such as SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, and BIMSTEC, Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. So both India and Bhutan are cooperating with each other in these multilateral groupings, SAARC and BIMSTEC. Okay, so therefore it further enhances their bilateral engagement with each other with the rest of the partners in the region. And apart from that, there are certain new areas of cooperation. Those new areas were also explored for the cooperation, increasing cooperation. So the bilateral cooperation has moved into new and emerging areas. Okay, so it has moved into new and emerging areas with full interoperability of the flagship digital project such as RuPay. And in fact, Bhutan has become the second country to launch Beam app. Okay, so we all know about this particular Beam app. So that facilitates UPI payments. So Bhutan in fact has become the second country to launch this particular Beam app. So this is the significance of India's ties with Bhutan. However, there are certain challenges between India and Bhutan relations. So what are those challenges that comes in the direction of India Bhutan positive ties? First and foremost, we need to talk about the security concerns. So there are a lot of security concerns. Okay, so when I say security concerns, for example, imagine this is a tri-junction between India, Bhutan and China. So here you can see it is China and it is a tri-junction, and this particular tri-junction is also known as Doklam tri-junction. So in this particular Doklam tri-junction in the year 2017, there were clashes between Indian forces as well as the Chinese forces. So therefore China-Bhutan boundary talks are raising some security concerns for New Delhi. Okay, so recently Bhutan and China have started or initiated the boundary talks to settle their boundary issue. So that has raised several security concerns for India. And apart from that, the tri-junction, the Doklam tri-junction near the crucial Siliguri corridor that connects India's northeast with the rest of the country. Okay, so I mean, if you look at India's map here, okay, so there's a narrow Siliguri corridor, and this is also known as the Chicken Neck corridor. Chicken Neck corridor. So this is a very narrow corridor, and if China has strategically placed itself in this Doklam tri-junction, it can even access this particular Siliguri corridor or Chicken Neck corridor, thereby cutting off India's access to the northeast. Okay, cutting off India's access to northeast. So this is also a major concern that India has been facing. And after that, Bhutan may join the Belt and Road Initiative also. So as of now in the region, India and Bhutan are the only countries which are not part of the Chinese infrastructure project Belt and Road Initiative. However, recent developments have been indicating that Bhutan may also become part of the Belt and Road Initiative. Okay, so and apart from that, India has been expressing its reservations with respect to the Belt and Road Initiative, especially with respect to China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So because this China-Pakistan Economic Corridor has been passing through the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and India claims that this China-Pakistan Economic Corridor has been passing through POK and that violates our sovereignty, because this particular Pakistan occupied Kashmir is also an integral part of India and you are violating the sovereignty. And because of that reason, India has been expressing concern as well as reservations over this Belt and Road Initiative. So please also understand this CPEC is also part of the Belt and Road Initiative of China. Okay, so as I have already told you that these projects, these Chinese infrastructure projects have been impacting India's sovereignty, and that has also been creating debt implications and could cause friction given Bhutan's strategic location. In fact, Bhutan has a very important and a very strategic location in the region. Now, Bhutan slipping into the Chinese, side, so that would have a huge implications for India. And at the same time, we have seen how Pakistan is in debt crisis, how Maldives have been moving into the Chinese debt trap, and how Sri Lanka has faced a lot of economic crisis, particularly because of its increasing debt. So because of that reason, India has been raising concerns with respect to the Chinese debt. And apart from that, the India's neighboring countries such as Bangladesh, Bhutan, so there was a certain motor vehicle agreement between all these countries: Bangladesh, Bhutan, India and Nepal. So this is also known as BBIN motor vehicle agreement. Okay, so this agreement is known as BBIN motor vehicle agreement. However, Bhutan has withheld this particular ratification of the agreement, citing the environmental concerns. Okay, so Bhutan has not given a go-ahead for this BBIN motor vehicle network because of certain environmental concerns. Now, if these countries proceed further with the BBIN network, that would increase the connectivity between these countries, and connectivity is very important for flourishing trade in the region. So as I have already discussed with you that the intra-regional trade among the SAARC countries, okay, so intra-regional trade among the SAARC countries is less than 5% of the total trade in the region. So one of the major reason for this low levels of trade between India and in fact in the region is because lack of connectivity. However, the BBIN motor vehicle agreement would facilitate the connectivity and would also facilitate the trade also between these countries. Okay, so however, citing environmental concerns, Bhutan so far has not ratified this BBIN motor vehicle agreement. However, so when we discuss a way forward between India and Bhutan relations, we need to maintain trust and goodwill going ahead. So India must make sure that it maintains trust, it maintains goodwill, and it also respects Bhutan's sovereignty as well as territorial integrity and even the autonomy of Bhutan. And India should also raise concerns with increasing Chinese presence in the Doklam region, and India should provide the assurances to Bhutan over its security. Okay, so the mutual trust, goodwill and understanding of each other are very important, and that helps Bhutan favors India over the China. And after that, we need to improve the security cooperation between India and Bhutan. So remember, I've told you that security assurances from Indian side to Bhutan are very important. So in this context, India's deployment of the military training team, that is IMTRAT, okay. So Indian deployment of the military training team in Bhutan has been a crucial training. It has become a very crucial factor in training the Bhutanese security forces. And after that, the cultural and people-to-people relations are a very important, a very fundamental factor in India-Bhutan relations, because it strengthens the cultural ties between these two countries through exchange programs, festivals, and educational initiatives. Students exchange programs with each other, and even facilitating tourism, and that particularly the religious tourism between these two countries. So that further enhances the people to people ties and even the goodwill, the necessary goodwill among the people of these two countries. Okay, so this is the way forward between India and Bhutan relations. However, this particular move of increasing India's assistance to Bhutan is actually a welcome move from the Indian side. So that makes sure that India maintains the trust, or both these countries maintains the same level of trust, goodwill, and understanding. We could prevent Bhutan shifting away from India close to China. Okay, so this is all about India and Bhutan relations. So next, a very important news article. Recently, ISRO successfully conducted second Pushpak reusable launch vehicle landing experiment. So this RLV is reusable launch vehicle. Okay, right? So this is a reusable launch vehicle that looks like a space shuttle of US. Okay, the name of this particular reusable launch vehicle is Pushpak. Now please understand, whenever we are sending satellites into space, that require certain a few rockets. Okay, so that require the launch vehicles. Okay, so however, the launch vehicles, once fired, they cannot be retrieved. Okay, so those launch vehicles such as GSLV, PSLV, once launched, we cannot retrieve them back, we cannot reuse them back. However, what ISRO has been doing, ISRO has been planning to develop Pushpak reusable launch vehicle. So with this particular vehicle, we send satellites or rockets easily into the space. So that significantly cut down the costs of these space missions, thereby making ISRO more and more competitive with respect to sending satellites into the space. And at the same time, we can use this particular reusable launch vehicle multiple times to send satellites or rockets into the space. So that is the main advantage. And in fact, these reusable launch vehicles can also be used to send pneumonauts into the space, for example, for the human space flight programs. Okay, so that is the advantage of reusable launch vehicles. And if we go into the details, ISRO said it successfully conducted the landing experiment of Pushpak reusable launch vehicle. Okay, that is Pushpak reusable launch vehicle. So it is actually conducted from the aeronautical test range in Chitradurga district of Karnataka yesterday morning, right? So this is actually a winged vehicle called Pushpak, and this is landed precisely on its runway after being released from an Indian Air Force helicopter from 4.5 kilometers altitude. Okay, so this particular Pushpak reusable launch vehicle was deployed. Okay, so this was deployed or released by the Indian Air Force aircraft, and that has landed precisely on the runway. Okay, so this is Pushpak reusable launch vehicle. Now, what is this reusable launch vehicle? We will understand briefly what exactly is the reusable launch vehicle. So the concept of reusable launch vehicle is based on the spacecraft durable. So the one particular spacecraft, and that is durable enough to withstand multiple launches and landings. Okay, so this is one particular spacecraft, and with this we will do multiple launchings and multiple landings. Okay, for example, if you look at the aircraft civilian aircraft, so we can use it for the multiple times to travel passengers. Okay, so to travel passengers. So therefore, in a similar manner, we can use this reusable launch vehicle. Okay, so to withstand multiple launches and multiple landings, before beginning of this particular reusable launch vehicle thing, I've already explained to you that we wanted to send rockets, and we also wanted to launch satellites from this reusable launch vehicle itself, so that we can significantly cut down the cost because of this reusable launch vehicle. So it is able to withstand multiple launches and multiple landings as well. So this particularly necessitates that this vehicle's design to be both lightweight and even strong also. Okay, so there are certain materials that are being used in the manufacturing of this reusable launch vehicle. Okay, so that can withstand the extreme conditions in space flight, because please understand, when this reusable launch vehicle has been entering into the atmosphere, so once it is being launched, so it has to be very strong. I mean, it has to withstand the extreme temperatures. So because of that reason, it is being made with the materials. Those materials can withstand the extreme conditions in the space flight. So with this, we can conduct multiple launches and landings of this particular reusable launch vehicles, and this is what is RLV, or Pushpak Viman. Okay, so apart from that, it is ISRO's second series of reusable launch vehicle landing experiment. Okay, so this is second of its kind reusable launch vehicle experiment by the ISRO. Okay, so this second time ISRO has exhibited the autonomous landing capability of this particular Pushpak. Okay, so how it has been Pushpak, so how it has been autonomously landing itself, the second experiment of RLV, and it has also undertook more difficult maneuvers with the dispersions. So more difficult maneuvers are very important to make sure that this reusable launch vehicle precisely and accurately lands on the runway. And that is very important, because in that way we can minimize the damages that are being caused to the these launch vehicles. And at the same time, what if we are bringing pneumonauts from the space? So we should also reduce any kind of a danger or harm that is being involved in landing these Pushpak. So therefore, a multiple difficult maneuvers were being conducted in the second reusable launch vehicle testing by the ISRO. So last year April, ISRO has also conducted a series of experiments with the reusable launch vehicle test demonstration. Okay, so this is test demonstration, reusable launch vehicle test demonstration. So therefore, it was part of efforts to developing essential technologies for fully reusable launch vehicle to enable low cost access to space. Okay, so that will enable the low cost access to space. And after that, back in 2016 also, a space agency conducted a maiden test flight, that is reusable launch vehicle, demonstrated at the Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so this particular experiment has involved sending a winged spacecraft on rocket that is being powered by conventional solid boosters, and engine used ISRO to space. Okay, so it was ISRO's first attempt to develop a space vehicle that can fly numerous times into the space like aeroplanes. So please understand, I've already told you that we can use this reusable launch vehicle like an aeroplane. So we can test this multiple times, or we can launch this multiple times and bring it back to the experimental site. So therefore it is considered as first attempt by the ISRO to develop a space vehicle, and that can fly numerous times into the space like other aeroplanes. Okay, so in 2006 space agency conducted the first experiment of this reusable launch vehicle from the Sriharikota Satish Dhawan Space Center, that is in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so that is RLV demonstrator test. So first RLV demonstrator test that was conducted in 2016. Okay, so in this experiment a winged air spacecraft was sent on a rocket, and that was powered by the conventional solid booster engine that was used by ISRO into the space. So ultimately it involves technology demonstration. So we have been demonstrating the technology to understand what are the shortcomings, what are the improvements that we can make, so that over a period of time it will help the space agency to become cost effective. Okay, so this becomes a cost effective method, and at the same time developing such technologies which reduces the human effort. Okay, evolution of those technologies, all those things are very important going ahead, and at the same time these technologies also have a very important applications for the normal day-to-day life. Okay, so that's all about the reusable launch vehicle or Pushpak test that is being conducted by ISRO. Next important news article is with respect to the Ministry of Finance report on declining or reducing levels of inequality in India. So recently Ministry of Finance has come up with a statement saying that inequalities in India have significantly declined, particularly inequalities in rural areas. However, the findings of the Ministry of Finance are sourced from the fact that household consumer expenditure survey that was being conducted in the year 2022-23. Okay, so this household consumption expenditure survey has revealed that the poor people have spent more on poor people have spent more amount of money for the consumption purposes than the well-off categories. So therefore it indicates the reducing levels of inequality, and this is what the finance ministry has said. Now a country like India, inequality is a major problem, and very often reports from Oxfam has also reveals the same, that in India the inequalities have been significantly increasing, whether it is rural urban inequalities, income inequalities. So all those types of inequalities have been increasing. So one of the major aims of the government is reducing inequalities and promoting inclusive growth and development. However, the household consumption expenditure survey has been revealing that India has made a substantial gains in terms of reducing inequalities in last one decade, and at the same time whatever efforts that the government has taken to promote inclusive growth and inclusive development have been started showing the positive results. Now in this context we will understand what exactly is the household consumption expenditure survey. So this particular household consumption expenditure survey is conducted by the National Statistical Office every 5 years, right? So please understand, household statistical National Statistical Office conducts household consumption expenditure survey every 5 years. So this particular survey aims at generating estimates of households monthly per capita consumption expenditure, and at the same time its distribution separately for rural. So what was the consumption expenditure of households in rural areas, and what was the expenditure for the people in urban areas of the country, and at the same time different states, union territories for different socio-economic groups as well. So overall it is a comprehensive survey of household consumption expenditure, so that also give us important insights over poverty, inequalities, and the economic growth potential, all those things. However, the household expenditure, consumption expenditure survey was conducted in the year 2022-23. So this has revealed some basic things with respect to household consumption. So the average monthly per capita consumption expenditure of Indian households has actually increased 33.5% since 2011 and 12. In urban households to 3,510, and rural India, this monthly per capita consumption expenditure sees 40.42% increase over the same period, and that hits 2008 rupees. Okay, so this is monthly consumption of people in the rural areas, and this is the monthly consumption of people in the urban areas, and this is what we have seen in the year 2011. This is what we have seen, that 33.5% increase in urban areas and 40.42% in the rural areas. Okay, so by this data, analyzing and assessing this particular data, the Ministry of Finance has revealed that the household consumption expenditure data household consumption has been increased, and that indicates significant decline or reduction in the inequalities in the country. So next topic is India is looking at Africa for the critical minerals. See, critical minerals are very important for different purposes, for different sectors in India. For example, lithium is very important. Lithium is very important to manufacture electronic vehicles. So apart from lithium, there are also a number of other very important, essential minerals such as cobalt, nickel, copper. So all those minerals are very important. So therefore, when we do not have essential minerals with the required amount of with the required quantity in India, so we need to look at other countries where we can get those minerals, from which countries we can get those minerals, and that is very important. So therefore, India is now looking at Africa for the critical minerals, particularly countries like Congo and Zambia, Ghana and Namibia. Okay, so these countries can supply India with cobalt and lithium. So these are critical minerals and they are very important. So therefore, these are different countries in Africa. In fact, Africa is known as the mineral belt. Africa is known as mineral belt, and it is endowed with rich minerals. So because of that reason, India is now looking at Africa for the supply of critical minerals, especially countries like Zambia, Namibia, Congo and Ghana. So they have the ability to supply all these essential elements to India, thereby meeting the requirements, the crucial requirements that can be used for technology, manufacturing and other industries. Okay, so that's all in this lecture, and thank you so much. If you like our work, please subscribe our YouTube channel and also hit the like button. Thank you.